because they're probably looking at other bands too. And if you make it easy for them,
Yeah.
yeah, they're going to be more likely to hire you and not them.
Yes. And the way I look at the websites or having a website, first of all, is this my type?
Yep, that's yours.
Please get a website. I know you can get by without one. I know you can. You know, there's all kinds of platforms. Just get a website. It's your world. You can control the narrative. You can control all the stuff. You're void of distractions and competitors. Get a website.
Hey Voxstar, and welcome to From Singer to Artist. I'm Lara Chapman, award-winning singer and songwriter turned viral vocal coach and the host of this show. At VoxTape Studios, we help singers from all over the world level up their voices by teaching them the 3 fundamental skills all singers need: technique, awareness, and artistry. Whether you're looking to go pro or just develop your voice for fun, my team and I are here to help. Check the link in the description to book your first session or grab some of our other resources. Alrighty, are you ready? Let's get started. If you are somebody who is playing gigs and you would like to figure out how to level up and maybe also get paid what you're worth and kind of get out of that starving musician mentality, today's episode is for you, my friend, because I have a very special guest with me here. Welcome, Leonard Patterson.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you for having me.
There you go.
Yes,
Anytime.
yes.
Anytime. Indie band coach.
Yes.
Well, honestly, so we met, hold on. When did we meet? This was probably 2022.
I think so.
I think it was 2022, January, like beginning of the year, 2022. But it wasn't at all about how to, level up your gigs and, go from playing bars that are not paying you at all to, wedding and corporate events that are actually worth playing, and because you get paid for it. It was not about that at all. It was actually about helping me build my business and my awareness, my brand, and all of that.
What an awesome brand it is. Yes. It was a great time. I think I was still living in California at the time.
Nashville?
I was in Nashville.
I remember you being in Nashville,
Yes,
but
I had just moved actually.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, we'd moved to Nashville. But yeah, we had a chance to work together. I was working with the Artist Collective, now Artistpreneur.
Yeah.
And yeah, we took, artists and coaches and helped them, just realize what they had in terms of their structure, their business, their skills, and help build a program and brand around that, which you already had such a great product going. And it was just a joy to get to work with you and just to really just try to keep up, honestly. Because I remember, I think we were, I think I was the first 4 weeks or the second 4 weeks, I forget. But we were working together and we were working on content. And we, you obviously have a great social presence and we were dialing that in. And I remember talking about like a couple of automations or something. I'm like, but don't worry about that right now because what we need to focus on. You're like, okay. Got to the next call the next week, and you're like, well, I built this thing, and it's I'm like, Laura. She's like, what?
Well, when I get excited about something, I like to just do it. There's no time like today and right now.
I love it. No, it was awesome.
I had so much fun working with you. We always were laughing, but it was also productive, right? It wasn't just like having a good time. It was also like learning and doing things, and that together with having a good time is just nice.
It's a great combo.
Yes. Definitely. Well, and now with what you're doing now, it's totally different, but not totally different because you were mostly doing the social media and the branding stuff with me and the automations in form of like social media automations and things like that. Yeah. And now with, your indie band coach stuff, you have a heavy focus on social media and brand because that's what's going to help you set apart from the bar gigs. But before we get into all of that.
Yes, which is great stuff.
Before we get into all of that, you are in a band yourself.
Yes.
You started that band many years ago. then life went in a different direction, and then you came back to it. So tell us a little bit more about your story, because you've done so much in your life.
Yes, thank you. Yes, it has been a journey. Yes, the band that my wife and I started 22 plus years ago.
Wow.
Is,
You're only like 25. What are you talking about?
Which is crazy. How is that toddler on stage singing? But we started 2001, and when we started off, we were an all original band. We were doing, showcases where it'd be 4 or 5 bands, 30, 45-minute sets, and it was great. And then the folks in the band were like, hey, we'd love to maybe get paid and do something. I'm like, okay. So kind of like you kind of take stuff and you just start doing. And I became a booking agent. Like, I just started, happenstance, just going out, looking at things, and the amount of information that's available online now is far beyond anything that was available then. So it was literally like, well, I guess I'm gonna go to a club and say, here's our band, here's the kind of music, and go from there. So a lot of hit and miss with that, but yeah, we became a band that had originals, that played covers, and we started getting paid. Okay, I can still remember the very first gig that we got paid. We all walked out of there with $41 a piece, and girl, you couldn't have told us nothing.
Oh,
We
yeah.
were like, where we go? Are we going to Steak and Shake? Oh yeah, we're going. Yes.
Yeah.
I got the fries. I got you. Anyway, so
Falling on a budget.
Oh yeah. Y'all can't tell us nothing. So, but yeah, flash forward. We were playing at this bar. We had only been, quote unquote, playing covers for a little while. I'm going to say this was like 2003, and it just so happened that one of the writers from Nouveau was at this restaurant that we were playing in. Mind you, we're an 8-piece band stuffed in this little corner of this restaurant, but we didn't care. We were like, we're playing music.
Yeah.
But we were still like, hey, we're here. This is an avenue for us to play originals and all this kind of stuff. Well, it turns out he wrote an article about us, and it was his name was Barfly. Wayne Birch. He used to do the cartoons for Nouveau back in the day. But he did this cartoon about us, and it came out, and it said, I just saw the best cover band in indie.
Wow.
That's what you would have thought, we thought. We were totally still in this, we're only doing these covers so that we can make money to pay for our CD kind of thing. So the very first knee-jerk reaction was, how dare he call us a cover band?
Oh, okay. Hurt your ego a little bit.
It did. And it didn't take long, just kind of looking at the landscape and all that stuff. It didn't take long before I realized, like, Leonard, you need to get over yourself. We need to get over ourselves. We're focusing on the wrong word. Someone just called us the best. Totally focused on the wrong word. So definitely had to check our ego at the door. And that was such a great period of time for us, because we were finding ourselves, and because of that article, we started to get a couple more leads, and within the next year, we were playing at another event that is no longer here, but it's called Ribfest, and we opened up for Morris Day.
Wow.
And
Okay.
the time, center stage, and it was crazy, but really fun times, really a lot of learning experiences and things like that. And my wife and I were in the band for 12 years, so until 2013, and we decided to go do her solo project, which was awesome. And then after that, after we were out of the band for a few years, we decided to move to California. Yeah. People are like, are you guys going out there for music and doing stuff? And we're like, not really. We were kind of a footloose and fancy free, so to speak. But we moved out to Southern California, and we were out there for 5 years. And a lot of stuff happened out there. diagnosed with cancer. We had a son, which is great, but really had a chance to really focus on just ourselves as people, as a family, and all of that. And
Yeah.
we ended up, moving back this way to take care of family and things like that. But I was off stage, out of the band, for 9 years. And when we left, we sold the band and the brand and all the stuff, the logo, like all the stuff, like we sold it. And 9 years later, I never would have imagined that it was still going. Not like there's no way it's still gonna be going, but like
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking like,
Of course, yeah.
oh, this will still be going, nor was I thinking I would ever be back. Like,
Yeah.
never planned. But yeah, we came back in 2022, end of 2022. And it just so happened that one of the members of the band was leaving. He was playing percussion and, doing some songs or singing some songs. And I ended up back home in Indiana and back home on stage.
Yeah.
So came home.
Yeah.
And it's been a very, very cool few years, just kind of getting back into the groove of things and seeing fans and friends and family from, years ago. It's been an awesome experience.
Selling a band, like that is not ever something that would have crossed my mind that that's a thing that you can sell your band. But when you have a brand behind your band, you can.
Yes, that was probably the difference. And so Jessica and I were the lead vocalists.
Yeah.
And so just from the fact that we were the one singing the song, we were the face of the band. And so it was a very difficult transition in terms of, at the time, speaking of private events, at the time that we left, I think we had on the books like anywhere from like 12 to 18 months into the future, we had like 32 contracts.
Oh, wow.
That were signed.
Yeah.
Most of them with me as the lead and the manager and all this stuff. And so it was a very interesting dynamic. And we took some time and talked to our booking agency, Blonde Entertainment. Shout out to Lisa and Julianne. But that's who we sold it to, actually. But
Okay.
we talked about it and we took some time and we basically hired our replacements on the DL. Like, we didn't post anything, we didn't let anybody know anything, but we hired them. We brought them over to our house in the basement. We made videos, and we were speaking directly to the 32 contracted folks who were like, hey, we want to introduce you guys to somebody. And so we had the singers, we had them like, basically made a little highlight reel to introduce them. And we made these videos and then we sent out emails to everyone, because what we didn't want to happen was for someone to say, hey, I've already given you X $1,000. What's going on here? So we want to make sure everyone heard it from us first. We didn't post anything, didn't say anything until we heard back from every single person, so that they would have the confidence and comfort in knowing that we've taken care of them.
Yes.
The band is not breaking up. The quality of the band is, it's not going to diminish. It's going to be different people. But I think out of 32 contracts, I think we lost one. And that was because they changed their date and we couldn't match it. But so other than that, everyone was on board, and I've spoken to many of them even since then. And they're so thankful for the process and all of that stuff. So, but it was definitely a brand, because that's a lot of money on the table, which was one of the reasons that we decided to at least consider it, because we didn't want to disappoint a bunch of people or have to find a bunch of different bands. And we just wanted to be able to keep the brand going. And you had 12 years of name recognition that was there. So.
And that matters. The name matters.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you at all, like during the process of like leaving the band and, you know, all these couples and whoever like these 32 contracts were, they were like, oh yeah, no problem. Like if your ego was ever like a little hurt, it was like, you know, when I'm being replaced, you should at least be a little bit sad, please.
What does Will Ferrell say? It was a roller coaster of emotion. Yeah, it was. Part of it was like so relieved.
Yes, of course.
That, you know, you guys are good. But then it was like, you said cool a little bit too quick. What?
Yeah, exactly. I want you to be at least a little sad. You
Right,
know?
like just shed one tear and then we can get to business. Come on.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, like I said, a lot of the people that we worked with, and like for a wedding, for example, like a lot of times we're working with people for like a year because they're planning that far out. And so there were a few of those contracts, those events that, you know, Jessica went ahead and played, and then like for probably 5 or 6 of them over the course of like, you know, within the 6 months or so that we had made the announcement, like I said, and I'm going to be there too. So like the folks were there, but I'm also going to be there. So there was that little time frame that I'm like, you know, for you guys, I know we're literally, you know, 13 months into this, and it'd be like, really kind of crappy to like back out now. So for a few of those, I was like, don't worry, I'm still going to be there. That kind of thing. So but it worked out, and yeah, it was definitely something that took a lot of maintenance, but you know, it was something, like I said, with so many years of brand recognition, it was just, I think, the right thing to do.
And is it still the same name now, like whatever, 20 years later?
Yes, still Living Proof.
Yeah.
Yes, livingproofmusic.com. And yeah, when we were leaving, there was some talk in the band about, and this part was flattering, but I was like, please don't do it. But they're like, oh man, if you guys are leaving, we should change the name of the band because it's not Living Proof. And blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, thank you. That's flattering. I appreciate that, but please don't change the name for the
for your sake. Yeah,
for the business sake. Don't change the name.
Yeah,
like
again, it's the recognition.
Yeah, right? And you know, just the fact that, you know, just think about SEO on, you know, Google and all that stuff. You've got all of this, you know, seasoned website.
You're starting from scratch again if you change it.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, that's exactly it. It's like if you change the name, it won't matter, because then you'll have to have all these Post-it notes. Oh, this was Living Proof and da da da.
Yeah. Don't bother, right?
Yeah, honestly, yeah, I think it's, and you know, now that we've had different people and subs and stuff like that and changed members, just looking back on it, I definitely think it's easier to change people than it is to change names. Yeah.
I can see that. I can see
that.
that.
Not easy, but easier.
Yes. Fair. So now you're back here, back in the band, back to performing. You're doing vocals on the band, like anything else? Like you're doing MC stuff as well?
Yes. So for events, I do MC and kind of help, you know, kind of like be the band's version of like the day of coordinator. So I work with whoever the coordinators are, if they have one, and things like that. But yes, there are 3 vocalists, myself, Wes, and Allie, and I think you'll be
I'll be seeing Allie.
With Allie. But yeah, so the 3 of us do, you know, most of the songs, but then our saxophone player, you know, sings a song. Our drummer, who's been around quite a bit, he's a great musician, but he sings a couple of songs. And our keyboard player sings too. So we have 6 people that can sing. You're like, how many other people are? So yeah, we actually have an 8-piece band. Yeah. So 6 of us sing, but yeah, and I was doing like percussion, because that's what, you know, the person I replaced had a percussion rig and some stuff which sounded amazing. But this being my second time around, I call it the second era of this. I'm like, okay, I'm only going to take one trip to load in. If it's nothing I can't fit on one trip, I'm not doing it. So percussion, percussion, you know, I have some hand percussion now. I've even kind of whittled that down. But yeah, I do that. And then I keep hitting this microphone. But I do that, and then I'm kind of also the quarterback. I have a talkback mic.
Okay.
And I call the songs throughout the night. So
keeping the vibe.
Yeah, so kind of reading the room.
Yeah.
And, I'll have on my mic stand, I have just a little piece of paper that's got our entire working song list of stuff that we're able to go through. And so just kind of reading the crowd through the night and calling songs.
That's a skill too. And I think that makes you very valuable. Like when you are doing these higher paid gigs, if I'm hiring you as like a corporate girly or whatever, it's like, I want you to entertain my people. So you have to be able to read the room. So let's talk about first, how you got into coaching, because now you're not just doing it yourself anymore, but you're helping other people build a band like that. So how did that come into play?
That actually came into play from being a booking agent. And I had only, when we first started out, I was a booking agent for just my band. And so that's what I was doing. And then a few years into it is when we connected with Blonde Entertainment. 25 years here in the market, and just awesome organization. Lisa Sauce has been doing a lot of great stuff for a lot of great musicians. But once we became a part of Blonde Entertainment, then there's an opportunity there for me to help out, because there was a lot of, and again, this is pre-COVID.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of opportunity for someone like me who was doing that role to then do that for Blonde Entertainment. So I got a chance to not only book for me, but then book for dozens of other bands around town. And so over the course of several years, I realized that as I was booking and as I was helping get bands booked for shows, I was hearing a lot of the same questions. I was getting a lot of the same, but why didn't I get, booked for this? Or why didn't I get, And so I would reach out to people and I'd say, hey, I've got this opportunity for this event, or even if it's a club or something like that. And my general role was basically, let me give this client 2 or 3 options, unless they ask for someone specific.
Yeah.
But let me give them 2 or 3 options, within around, the same price range, and then kind of see what their vibe is. And then as I was doing that, I realized that there were a lot of bands that I would have to message them back and be like, hey, I'm probably not going to submit you for this one. Here's a couple things that you need to do so that I can for the next time.
Okay.
Because I can't put you on this list with my name behind it, and you wouldn't want me to with, because they're going to look at this band and their website that's professional and has events, and here's what we offer.
Yeah.
This other band and their, video header of them with all these shows, and then your band with your URL to your band, that's great, but points to your Facebook page. With not good photos or not good branding and stuff like that. And so
the brand just isn't there, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And so just time after time realizing that, this, band leader. So yeah, this band leader that would come to me and it's like, hey, I've got a question for you. Can we have a coffee? Can I take your coffee? I had a lot of coffees and lunches and things with, band friends that, I'd love to help and all that stuff. And I realized maybe the questions that they're asking aren't just for them. Maybe there's more than these 7 folks that I'm talking to. So I just started, I didn't have a plan. I literally just was like, okay, let me, when they say when you're starting up a business on social, it's like, hey, try to find something that fits you, but also that you can get all the handles for. So I started looking around, like, what is, I'm kind of coaching. I was like, oh, let me booking agent. But yeah, indie band coach was one of the top, names, and it was like the first one that had all of the handles
available,
and stuff.
yeah.
And so, yeah, I just started posting tips and things that I was already talking about and sharing, and started getting some good feedback. And I'm like, oh, I'll just keep sharing stuff that I'm learning, not just from working with bands, but also what I'm doing with my band.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of how it started with Indie Band Coach, and that whole thing led me to connect with the Artist Collective, and because we were doing very similar things. My high-end product was events and things like that, where there's coaching programs, but it was such a good fit, and I was happy to get a chance to really work with Evan and Vinny and Willie and all that, just to get a chance to look at it from a different angle. But yeah.
And now you're back into the indie coach, like on your own, and no more with the Artist Collective, or what are Artistpreneur they're called now?
Yeah, Artistpreneur. Yes, and I still do clinics for them sometimes. So I'll just like once a month, actually, for last year, like I'll hop in and do a clinic for some of the coaching clients and stuff like that. So I'm still in touch. We still collaborate on things like that.
That's awesome.
But yeah, back in the band on stage, and kind of focusing now on Indie Band Coach, and really kind of honing towards working bands now that are wanting to play more private events.
Okay. So tell me, what is a working band? Like who is this stuff for?
This is for, I'm going to say, a band that has kind of figured out their groove, for lack of a better word, or their sound, who has some shows on the books, and who has played, I'm going to say, this is an arbitrary number, but they've played 50 shows.
Okay.
They've done clubs. They've gotten paid to do what they've done. And
so they have some experience.
They've got some experience. They know what their sound is, and they're confident, or at least they are at least looking at, like, how can I now be ready for corporate events, or what could I do now for weddings, or whatever the higher paid events are, things like that. So that's kind of the basis of that. And the reason I use the experience as the measure is because, depending on the band, that could be anywhere from 2 months to 10 years of that kind of experience, because some folks have day jobs and they're like, oh, I play, we have 8 gigs this year and that's great for us, like that kind of thing. And that's fine too, but just have a little experience. They're not trying to figure out how to be a band. They already know how to be a band. And they've got a pretty well-oiled machine, if you will.
Yeah. They have a system down, and the experience, they know what they're doing, and now they want to level up. Now, I think with a lot of singers and a lot of band members, just like with you too, their dream job probably isn't playing weddings and corporate events. Right. It's more like, I love music and I want to play music, and I would like to not have a day job. So how can I make music my day job? Would you say that's kind of like how most people feel?
That is, yes, I would say that 100%. And that is kind of like the trade-off. And again, there's musicians all across the board. There's musicians that have day jobs who just want to, do this on the weekends. Making it your day job kind of thing is being, I guess, open to what are some different ways that I can make money and generate income with this thing that I love to do.
Yeah.
And so private events, weddings, those kinds of things are those higher end events that, allow you to go and, do one show for the price of 3 or 4 club shows.
At least. But
yeah. I was being conservative. Right?
Yeah.
And so if you don't want to play a lot, or if you've got family, or you want to spend more time writing and doing the other musical things that fill you up,
Exactly.
being ready and willing and able to do private events in some way, shape, or form is, should be, at least a consideration, I would think.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, just because you're doing weddings and corporate events and all that doesn't mean you can't also do your own stuff. It's like you're doing this so that you can then reinvest that into your own original music or whatever it is that you're doing. And the time thing as well. I like how you said that, if you have family or you just don't want to play 6 days a week, but rather, 1 or 2 a month and still make the same amount of money, then that's definitely a great avenue. So, okay, I am in an experienced band. I have played 50 gigs.
Okay.
We have a system down.
Cool.
But I've only played bars, restaurants, clubs, that kind of stuff. Maybe a festival. Maybe I've played a music festival. But what do I need to be considered for these higher paying gigs? Because you said you have, like, as a booking agent, you didn't really submit some people, like some bands, because they were just not quite there. So what do I need? Tell me.
Well, one of the things is we've talked this whole time about band and brand.
Yeah.
So you want to be able to present yourself as a brand, as a business, and you want to be able to have coordinators, vendors, talent buyers, agents. You want them to be able to land on your online presence, whether it's social media or your website or whatever, and have this little conversation in their head of this is a professional.
Yeah.
And whatever that means for you and your band, like, you want that conversation happening. And I like to say sometimes, like, hey, looking at your socials, looking at your website, are you a $5,000 band or a $500 band? If I've got a budget of $5,000 and I'm going to be looking for the best entertainment to entertain my employees or my clients for my holiday party or whatever is in their family, would I land on your site and have that professional conversation go off?
Yeah.
And a lot of times I'll ask people I'm working with, I'll say, okay, let's go to your site now and be just totally objective. Put yourself in the shoes of a client. Ask yourself this question: would you hire you?
Oh, it's so hard for a lot of people, I think, to stay objective because it's like, is this my baby or whatever, right?
But taking yourself out of your own shoes and putting yourself in the shoes of the client is one of the first and best ways to kind of retool what you've got going on. So, yeah, one of the things, I would say is just really looking at the kind of video and pictures and things that you are sharing online, and and here's the thing, it's not like, oh my goodness, don't post that picture or video of you guys in the bar. That's not what I'm saying. But it's more about the quality of it, the aesthetics. Weddings especially are such a visual.
Yes.
Such a visual business. You think about the florists and the photographers and all that stuff. Like, all that stuff is pristine. Like, you want your product to be in that same vein, if that's what you're going for, obviously. So yeah, just being attentive of your aesthetics, but also your messaging. And one of the really easy layups that a lot of people miss is just making it crazy, stupid, easy for people to connect and contact you. Make sure that your contact info is on social media, if that's where they find you. If they land on your website, make sure, first of all, that you're talking directly to that person, or at least that there's a tab or section somewhere on your website that if I go to VoxTape Studios or VoxTape Band, if I go to VoxTape Band, and you'd be surprised at how many times I've heard just talking to someone at a club or at an event, or at a restaurant or something. Hey, do you guys play weddings? Do you guys play events? Those are the kind of questions that they're having when they land on your site.
Yeah.
Really simple. Have a tab that says events,
Yeah.
or weddings, or something, so that that question's immediately answered.
Yeah.
Because if you never know how many seconds you have for that to happen. So
because they're probably looking at other bands too, and if you make it easy for them,
yeah,
they're going to be more likely to hire you and not them.
yes. And the way I look at the websites, or having a website, first of all, is this my type?
Yep, that's yours.
Please get a website. I know you can get by without one. I know you can. There's all kinds of platforms. Just get a website. It's your world. You can control the narrative. You can control all the stuff. You're void of distractions and competitors. Get a website. Okay.
Perfect.
So,
Get a website.
Yes.
And it's so easy with like Squarespace and Wix and whatever's out there. It's so easy to build a website.
Yes. There's AI tools out there.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, I want a website that's done this, and it's like, anyway.
Yeah.
But with your website, then have a space on there that you are specifically talking to them, and think about the other questions they'll ask. How long do you play? What type of music, or song lists, that kind of thing, because the way it's worked with our band, and I've seen it work with many others, is that people are going to find you online first, and then they will end up on your website in some kind of way, and that will either be where they actually contact you, or they will look at what you've got there and then decide that, yes, this checks all my boxes. Now I'm going to go see them live. So you want your website to kind of continue the conversation in some way, shape, or form. You don't want it to stop the conversation. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm like just thinking like me as the client, I hired, like when I got married, I hired a duo to sing and play, husband and a wife, just like you. But not the full band, but like just, just a duo. And they were a recommendation for like a recommended vendors list from the venue.
Gotcha.
And it never even crossed my mind to go watch them perform live somewhere before I hired them, because I naively, is that a word? Was trusting the venue, right? It's like, well, if they're on the recommended vendor list, then, they have to be good. So I saw a video. I'm like, yeah, cool. Awesome. You're hired.
Yes. And that happens a lot too. And that is, one of the, it's kind of like thinking about those emails that I would send off to clients that would have some bands listed and some others that weren't. For them to be on that recommended vendors list, that definitely speaks volumes, because that vendor wouldn't have had them on their list if they wouldn't have had videos or a professional website and that kind of stuff. So yeah, that is definitely one of the other benefits of that, is not only just the direct client inquiries, but then you're now looking at other vendors and other partners and other things like that. Or like, oh yeah. And, if you get the chance to work with people, and obviously you're professional and nice, and you're, working as a team and all of that stuff, then yeah, you definitely are able to continue those relationships, and you'll get calls just because you were great to work with. Yes. Obviously you can deliver. Yeah. But they're great to work with, that kind of thing. So
you're making other people's lives easier, not harder.
Yes.
That kind of stuff. Yeah. And in order to get on these recommended vendors list, you have to do that, and you have to have the experience. That's not where you start, right? Like you don't go from playing a club to knocking on a venue's door and be like, hey, can I be on your recommended vendors list, when they have zero proof of what you do.
Right. Yes. That's a few steps down the line.
Yeah.
But every step that you take to get there is really important. You're building, just like when you were building your band, and you're building your brand and building this business. each of those steps is very important because you want to, develop that reputation that,
Yeah.
hey, we're great to work with. We will, do whatever we can to, make this event a success. And then I like to also say that whoever either recommended us or hired us, I like to say, like, our job is to make them the star of the show. And especially like with corporate events and things like that, because you'll have either someone whose job it is, or a lot of times it's someone whose job it's not, that just got put on them.
Yeah.
Hey, I need you to, put together our holiday party, or I need you to be the one to get the entertainment, and it's like, okay. And so I've talked to a lot of folks that are like, I just looked on the web, saw you guys, can you guys do XYZ? Like, yeah. And then after the show, it's like, you guys made me look so good, thank you. I was like, oh, we got you.
Yeah, I love that.
But yeah, that kind of, just being a piece of that bigger puzzle, because it takes a lot of people, and depending on the event, a lot of different vendors to have.
If you've ever planned a wedding, there's a lot that goes on. And our venue was awesome. They did everything. They did they were the venue, the cater, the flowers, everything. Like, I had minimal organization to do.
Yeah.
Or whatever, planning.
Yeah.
But it was still like, this is a lot. Now, at that point, I didn't have a green card yet, so I couldn't work. So I had the time to do it, you know?
Right.
But it's still like, oh my God, there's a lot that goes into it. And so be a team player, like you said before, make people look good. And then they want to work with you again and again and again. And then your whole book starts growing and growing and growing. And before you know it, you don't have to do a lot of promotion anymore because they find you.
Yes, it was a very interesting time frame. This is probably, just to give you a frame of reference like I mentioned, we're 22 years old, but it was probably year 6 or 7 where the balance started to shift just a little bit. It wasn't like immediate, but I started to notice that I was maybe getting a few more inquiries than, inquiries I had to initiate. I was starting to get a few more calls and, forms filled out on our website, and started to realize, like, oh, this is the third person that's wanted this date. We're already booked. Like, that hasn't happened a lot before.
Yeah.
But that started to slowly happen. And then, the next 3 or 4 years after that, it was like there were several dates during the course of a year that we'd had 3 or 4 inquiries for, and that kind of stuff. So we were at the peak, pre-COVID. At our peak, we were doing 125-ish shows.
That's like every third day.
It's a lot. We had several, like, column 2 first. We had several weekends where we'd have a Friday show, and then on Saturday we'd have something in the afternoon and the evening.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, or a Friday, Saturday, Sunday kind of thing, especially in the summer. But we got to the point where we were busy enough to where we had to, if we had people in the band that had kids that were doing like spring break and they were going to be off, we're like, oh, well, we're all taking it off.
Yeah.
We're not doing this whole thing. So we had like a couple of weekends, like full weekends off, and then a few weekend nights here and there throughout the year. But we were happy. We were, just going for it and stuff. And even during that time, we released 2 full-length CDs. So we did keep like that focus, and that was my whole kind of foray into music. Pre-band anyway, it was like songwriting. And so I had joked about how when, the band started to get busy, I'm like, oh my gosh, band leader Leonard has killed songwriter Leonard. Like,
oh no, yeah.
But band leader Leonard was so fun. He was making money. He was cool.
He was making money. There you go.
Yeah. Songwriter was like, okay. But yeah, that period of time was really cool, just to kind of see how the fruits of our labor and just the experience had started to pay off, and we were getting more inquiries for events and festivals and things like that, and got a chance to do some really cool events and things over the years. So yeah, it's been fun.
It's a lot when you're this busy and you're playing big events where you're playing 2, 3, 4 hours. I don't know how long those gigs are, but pretty long, I would assume.
Yeah,
some of them.
Our max is like 3 hours straight.
Okay, straight, no break.
Yeah. Now we do take breaks.
Okay.
Now, we will take like a 15-minute break.
Yeah.
Typically here, if we do a 3-hour show, but yeah, any 2 hours, 2.5 hours, we'll do that straight.
Yeah.
Just for the most part, just to kind of keep the vibe going and
Yeah,
things
yeah,
like that. But once again, there's 3 of us splitting vocals.
That's what I was just gonna say, right?
Yeah.
Like, because singer brain over here,
Yeah.
right? I'm like, that is a lot of singing, but if you can split it, that's definitely helpful as far as like vocal stamina and vocal health and all of that stuff goes. You were just sharing a crazy story with me where you recently played in a bar.
Yeah.
How was that experience?
Well, if it was just a bar, it'd have been fine. So had someone reach out to me and say, hey, can you play at this club? And I'm like, yeah, that's great. We didn't have a lot of shows that particular month. And I blame myself. I even apologized to the band. I'm so sorry. Like, I did not do my due diligence on this. And this was like, we booked it like 3 months in advance. And like, cool, we did the promo and that kind of stuff. And I did like a cursory level, look at their website, that kind of thing. It was not a big deal. Well, the week before the event or the gig, I was like, cool, let me like dive in and just see if I can get some pictures of the venue. I was going to put some stuff in our event and just kind of spice it up. And that's when I discovered that it was a smoking bar. I looked at that, I'm like, I wouldn't have even known to ask that question anymore.
Yeah.
I had no idea that they were still around. I guess there's a few. And so, like I said, it had been on the books for months. We didn't have very many gigs, in this particular month at all. And so, yeah, I went to practice literally that next day. We had practice, and I apologized to the band. I'm like, guys, I'm so sorry, but this is actually a smoking venue. This is a one-off. Like, I've not booked a bunch of stuff out and all this kind of stuff. In hindsight, like, I probably should have been like, do we even want to do it? Like, in my head, it wasn't. In my head, the overarching, business part of me or even booking part of me is like, you don't cancel gigs.
Yeah.
That was the overarching thing. But at the same time, I knew, like, this is not something that I wanted to do, not something I would want to subject others to, but I apologized. And we did the gig, and, it was, for those who haven't played in smoking bars before, it was bad. For those of us that started playing, and all there was smoking bars, it wasn't terrible. But just the presence of it was like, bad. And then talk about the effect of smoke on your voice. Come on.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have made it. I'm so sensitive to that stuff. It makes you so dry. It makes me cough because I'm just very sensitive in my lungs, apparently. So kudos to you to making it through that.
Yeah. And the people there were super nice. Like, they were great to work with and all of that. And they're like, oh, we'd love to have you guys back. And I'm like, I just had to say, well, if you become a non-smoking place, let's talk.
Yeah, you told them?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah. And I didn't want to, be, under false pretenses.
Yeah.
And like make up a bunch of stuff. I'm like, I just gotta let you know. And they're like, actually, yeah, we're definitely thinking about it and that kind of thing. So yeah, it had been something that was on their mind, and
Poor staff. Like,
yeah.
oh my God. Like,
But yeah,
Anyways.
it was definitely a lesson learned for me after booking how many ever
Yeah. You
hundreds of
still
shows.
learn, right?
Oh
And you
yeah.
still make mistakes, if you want to call it that, right?
Yeah.
But there's still always stuff to learn.
Yeah.
And so, talk to me about your props, because I want to talk about that stuff. List building, right? As a
Yes.
band, first of all, what is list building? And second of all, how does one build a list, and why should you have a list?
Yes. List building is basically building traffic or building a list of names that you own or addresses that you own. So social media, we don't own that content. We don't own the people that follow us. Like if Facebook, Instagram, whoever decides to shut down,
TikTok
get
just about
banned.
shut
Yeah,
down
yeah, yeah.
for like 3 minutes.
Right, seriously. It's like, oh no, we spent more time talking about it than it was down.
Yeah.
But it's happened before, and it may have, I'm not sure if you run into this, but like you might be running an ad or you might be doing something and you've got an event that you're promoting, and for whatever reason during that time, like Facebook is down. It's like, oh man, now nobody's getting my message. But regardless, you don't own those platforms or the contacts that have even said that they'll follow you. So email and SMS or text messaging, and yeah, I was going to say like maybe messaging if you use a third party platform like ManyChat or something like that. Like that might be kind of close to owning, but that's still a platform.
Still,
But,
yeah, it's still
you know,
ManyChat.
Yeah, yeah.
It's still not your, like a phone number or an email that you have in your address book.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
But yeah, a list is important so that you can have an additional way to talk to someone one-on-one, so that you can be in their inbox and so that you can have a conversation with them and let them know what's going on one-on-one, as opposed to relying on them seeing your post or your event. And I think a lot of times we get kind of nervous or hesitant, like, oh, I'm posting too much, or I don't want to bombard them or get on their nerves. And probably just when you think you're just starting to get on someone's nerves, you should probably turn it up a little bit, because you're probably just now scratching the surface.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because, you know, you never know who sees what
Yeah.
posts.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So one of the things that we have done and that I recommend doing is taking advantage of not just your online presence, but like your live shows, and trying to find ways to build your list at your shows. Whether or not they actually came to see you or they just happened to be there
Yeah.
and they stayed and they loved you and it was great, have a way that they can basically ascend up your value ladder, that they can
Yeah.
get on your list. And so, yeah, that's one of the things that we have, that we do.
Yours is so much more professional than what I did. Oh my gosh, when I was gigging, I just had an iPad with me. Would tell
Yeah.
people, put your email address in here and I'll email you.
Oh,
but I
yeah,
never
yeah,
did
yeah.
anything with it. But I at least pretended like I would, right?
No,
But that's
that-
so cool with the QR code.
Yes, this is actually, yeah, I realize now this is actually our Venmo. But we do have a
Yeah.
QR code for our Instagram and
Yeah.
also for our email list.
Okay.
And so one of the things that we, I try to do, don't do nearly as well as I should, is to let people know, hey, we've, come up on stage if you're on the dance floor or whatever. And these are obviously public gigs too. Or actually, I should say, this is a way that we build leads and build a list at public and private gigs, because private gigs get you more private gigs. You're at a wedding and you've got, this, 200 people there, and just so happens that there's 3 engaged couples there that are looking like, oh my gosh, this is great.
Yes.
You've literally just auditioned, got paid well
Yes.
to audition
Yes.
for another wedding, which has happened a lot. So obviously business cards are a great way to like get people to contact you and things like that. But for folks that want to just hear more about you or just to be aware of you, especially public gigs, we have what we call gig cards. And these are cards that have our website, but it just lets you know where we'll be playing next, the time, the date. And
That's
then,
awesome. So you keep updating these.
Yes. Yes. And so I've had many a conversation after a show of someone looking at this and be like, oh, hey, we should do the thing. Isn't it your birthday? Like, people are making plans right there in the excitement of just getting done listening to the show.
Yeah.
And this is also a very good conversation starter. I like to thank people for coming and things like that, and just kind of have these with me. Like,
Yeah.
love for you to come see us again. You know, unlike a business card, it's like, I don't want you to like, hey, go to my website. Like, here's literally this thing that you can use. And when we first started using these, we had a lot of people that was like, oh my gosh, I love these. You know, I put these on my refrigerator just so I can know. And it kind of takes away the burden of, again, of them having to see you on social, having to like see all of your posts. But yeah, that has helped quite a bit, just building our base. But the email list is definitely one of the things I wanted to make sure that made it really easy for people to get signed up on, which has also been a great tool for us. And here's the thing too, you don't need a lot of people on your list. It's not about the amount of people that you get on your list. It's about the fact that for whatever reason, wherever they were and they saw you, they were like, I want to see them again. Or I'm going to raise my hand and say, I like what you guys are doing. It's like, cool. Now you've given me permission. Now I'm going to let you know what's going on. And it's like, I think we may have, I don't know, just a couple hundred folks on our list now. Like, it's not many. But we just did a show, I think it was last fall. There's a really cool place up in Lake Freeman in, I want to say Monticello, Indiana. But it's the Madame Carroll. Okay. It's literally a cruise. It's a party cruise, and it goes out for like 3 hours, and you can eat and stuff, but like you're on a boat and it's literally people are there to party. It's like 90 minutes away ish or so. Okay. We were at our last show there, really, really fun time. And I saw a couple of familiar faces, saying hi to people. And yeah, I was talking to her and she's like, yeah, you know, I've heard about this, but never really knew what it was where I come. But like, I'm so glad that you sent that email. So me and these 3 other friends, we came up from Indy to come to your show. And literally I just happened to talk to them. I guarantee that there's more instances of people that have come to show that you would never really know. But just because of being able to get into their inbox and things like that. So
yeah. And when you show up in different areas of their lives, right? Like on social media, but also in their inbox, and then in a live setting somewhere, they are going to think about you more frequently, more like, oh, I'm putting on an event. I should reach out to Leonard from Living Proof because you're front and center in their mind, right?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes. And the email part kind of reminds me of this. I don't know. I made up this thing. It's called I'm going to call it the gig. I'm going to make this name up right now. Gig matrix. Gig marketing matrix.
Okay.
Or the tic-tac-toe promo. Anyway.
I love it.
Yeah. So this was when I told you about that period of time where we started getting more calls than we had to make.
Yeah.
I tried to find out like what we were doing or what I was doing, and I realized that there was actually a system. And I tried to like simplify it and be like, okay, it just felt like it was all random, but when I boiled it down, I'm like, oh, there's actually a system. I didn't realize that I had one, but there was one.
Yeah.
And so I charted it out, and it was basically, it looked like a tic-tac-toe board. And across the top was before, during, after.
Mm-hmm.
And then down the side was online, offline, inbox. And so online, obviously, social media and all that kind of stuff. And I realized like we would promote the show, and then I would promote the socials at the show during, and then, you know, whether it's video or pictures of the crowd or whatever, you know, I try to make it a goal to like post a thank you and like capture the environment like after the show. But then the offline, back when we used to have those Nouveau newspapers, like physical papers, which are very few and far in between now.
Yeah.
But they would have them stacked at a lot of the venues that we play, and like people would pick them up because they were music centric papers and things. So sometimes I would take out an ad. So if you're old school Nouveau, I just want you to know we did spend money on advertising, but not all the time. I was going guerrilla. I would go to some of the venues that we were playing, and I would stuff these in the Nouveaux.
I love it.
So
sneaky.
I'm like, look, come on. And I would literally like flip to like the music page, like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of like some of the offline things that we did. And if we're playing at Broad Ripple or someplace where there are actually posters and things like that, we do posters and posters at the venues. That's offline kind of stuff. But then yeah, the inbox was all about email and getting a chance to message people. So just looking at that, I realized we had some avenue in each of those three locations, and then the time frame before, during, and after was like, oh yeah, we don't just do the before. Like we're very conscious of like highlighting pictures, and we started taking more pictures of fans than, you know, it's just natural tendency. Like we started off, there would be a lot of pictures of us and the band and our poses and stuff like that. And especially if it was a venue that had like cool lighting and stuff like that. But back when the algorithm was a little bit more friendly, we found that the more pictures that we posted of people, the quicker our fan base grew, because people would see themselves and they would tag themselves. And if we got to a point where we knew people, we would tag them and they would tag their friends, and stuff was being shared more because it wasn't just of us on stage and stuff like that. But yeah, that boiled down to kind of creating like a little system out of what seemed like chaos. But I'm like, oh, okay.
You have a system.
I know.
Yeah.
I didn't know it, but yeah.
No, that happened to me all the time when I started like with vocal coaching and things like that. Like only when somebody else asks me, how did you do that? I'm like, oh, I have a system. I didn't know. I was just doing, but I'm always doing it the same way and it works. So yeah. Sometimes it takes you to like needing it to explain it to somebody else to realize that that's actually what you have. You have something, and it's not just random, and it's not just luck.
Right. It's like, yeah, you found a way that worked.
Yeah.
Got a good result. Felt good. Next time that comes up, let me start. Yeah, last time I'll start here again and do this. And yeah, that's definitely.
Well, and it took you a long time to like figure out the system, right? I'm sure there were a lot of tweaks that you made to it to, you know, get it to what it is now. And that takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of energy. Yeah. And thankfully, you created a little guide called, I know it, Bars to Ballroom, right? Bars to Ballrooms or something like that.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
The Bars to Ballrooms Toolkit.
Yes, I missed the toolkit part. Okay. And so it's kind of like a getting started guide for bands out there that want to level up and get more high paying gigs. Can you tell us a little bit more about that toolkit?
Yes, I can. Let's just say toolkit a couple more times. No, it's not.
Yeah.
But no, yes, the toolkit, it's a PDF, and it's one of those things where very similar to like that gig marketing matrix that obviously has had a name for a long time.
Yeah.
where I realized there were things that we've done and, clients that I've worked with and things like that. Like there was, a system, or there were common denominators of things that would help them get, private events, and that have helped us get private events. And so that's kind of what the toolkit is like, okay, before you go and just look, hey, let me look at wedding planners, let me look at before you go looking and reaching out and asking for gigs or offering to help, like let's get your house set up first. Let's get your foundation set up first, so that when they see you, when they get there, professional.
Yes.
The conversation's already there. So the toolkit is like, here, take these few steps. Let's focus on these few things. Let's look at the next few gigs that you're playing. Just put your content hat on real quick and get a couple of clips. Get some video of this. If you have, specific songs that you're playing that would also be on popular wedding lists, that kind of thing, like get clips of those kinds of songs so that you can, use that kind of thing, knowing that these are the kinds of things that are played at weddings or, corporate events or holiday parties, that kind of thing. So the toolkit kind of helps you get from, we're a working band, we're doing gigs and things like that, to we're ready to take this next step. We're ready to present ourselves for vendors and events and things like that, so that you're ready to take those calls. You're ready to have, your website listed on the list of things that we send out to other folks and things like that. So, and it's important, it's not going to go into a lot of detail about networking and all of that kind of stuff. Like I have, a course, and I have a, basically a call, a coaching call, a strategy call that we can do together to like kind of help accelerate that. But this is really to help you take those first few steps, or those next few steps to get ready before all of that happens.
Yeah, it's hard that you have to crawl before you walk and run, right? But you kind of do. Otherwise, you're gonna fall on your face a lot more than you have to had you just followed the steps. So this is like step one. I mean, step one after you already have a little bit of experience, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, and it's, falling on your face, and it's also about just having the confidence of, that you've got your online presence together.
Yeah.
Because that's really, that's really one of the things that, as a booking agent, that I really started to notice when I was pitching bands for events. And again, most of the folks that I book, these are my friends. We've done shows together. We've sat in with each other. We've done events together. So like I was personally invested, like how can I help? But a lot of times it was, they're fantastic on stage. They're fun. They're energetic. Like I know that they would have a good time if you hired them, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the online presence didn't match the on-stage presence. And, unfortunately, unless you just, I did have a few folks that I was able to, like, just go see them live. Or, like, I did have some instances where I was able to, like, skip over that, like, post a note, just go see them live. Trust me, don't worry about that. But a lot of times if, you don't have a gatekeeper or whatever, people are just looking online. Yeah. They're going to look online first, or they're going to see you online first. So you want that online presence, whether it's social or website, to want them to take the next step.
Honestly, it's something that's really important to me personally as like a client or something, in any field out there, where it's like, if you have a great online presence, you seem less scammy. And, in today's world, there's a lot of scams out there. Yeah. And so, do yourself a favor and build that presence so you don't look like you're a scam.
Yeah, you'll get a lot more business that way, obviously.
Yeah.
And yet, just even with that, the website part of it too is, having that presence will, even if people aren't looking on social or things like that, like one of the things that we work on with our website is, like, I'll go in and tweak the names of the titles of the pages and like work on the behind the scenes like SEO stuff so that I want to be confident that when people search indie wedding band or wedding entertainment in Indianapolis or whatever version of that, I want us to be on the first page somewhere.
Yeah.
And for a lot of those, we are, some of those come from being on sites like, Wedding Wire or The Bash, because those sites, their business is helping people book things. So it's another thing too. If you have a chance to be on there, if you can create a free profile, see how it works for you. Like, don't necessarily just go throwing money at those sites, but though they have their own juice, so if you will, for SEO. So sometimes we will appear on the first page, but it'll be our Bash profile or our Wedding Wire profile, which is fine. Like, we just want to be on there somewhere. We just want to be in the conversation somewhere.
Yes. I love that. Can I add a link in the show notes to your bars to ballrooms toolkit? You have to add the S.
Yes.
Bars to ballrooms toolkit. Can I add a link to that so people can check it out?
You certainly can. Yes.
Talking about list building, right?
Yes, exactly. Yes, definitely.
Yeah,
it's a free download.
Awesome.
That I want to just make available, and then obviously if you want to talk, or if you want
take it to the next step and accelerate the whole process, because my friend, time is money.
It is.
Time is money.
It is, and we're coming into a busy time for booking and people doing
summer weddings and
getting and that's the thing too. Obviously, probably not looking at weddings for this summer, but we are already getting inquiries for next summer.
Wow!
Even for holiday parties and things like that.
Yeah.
Coming this year, so
now's the time.
Get it.
Even for Grant, my husband, he has a engineering business. He already got the restaurant for the holiday dinner. Like, they don't throw a big party because there's only 20 people.
Yeah.
But they already booked the restaurant in February for December next year. So people are planning ahead. So if you really want to get into it, start now, because it's going to take a little bit to get those bookings rolling in and then actually fulfill the bookings.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. A lot of times we do get a few events or weddings that are maybe 3 to 6 months like in advance, like something happened and it's like, oh gosh, we got to do this, or we just decided to have this. But a lot of times, it's 8, 12,
18 months.
Into the future of, like, we picked a date, we picked it for this reason, and we've, when it comes to weddings, a lot of times it's like they'll start with the venue. Yep.
That's what we did.
Wedding planner, if there's one, and then several other things. Like, usually I think band is like 5 or 6, maybe 6 or 7 down the list, unless you get some folks that are like, the music is the most important part. Like, this wedding we're playing this weekend, they're like, we aren't even doing speeches like the bride and groom. We're not even doing speeches. We're doing that at the rehearsal dinner, and we're not doing them at the wedding, because I want you guys to be on soon as possible. Like, so I don't even want speeches at my wedding. And they're like, a lot of people there aren't going to care about the speeches. Like, so that's rehearsal dinner stuff. Yeah. Like, so if you get folks like that, which are few and far in between, but are amazing, they're like, we just want to come and party. I'm like, that's what we want too.
Yes. And you're bringing the party, so everybody's ready to have a good time. Let's do it.
What's funny is I was trying to get you in the band a couple years ago, because
I know. But that was before you rejoined.
Yeah, I wasn't.
I think.
Yeah, it was. I was trying to get you to come with me.
Oh, okay.
Because it was basically, I moved back, and then yeah, I think it was sometime during the time we were working together. I realized you were also. We realized we were both in Indianapolis. Like what?
Yes.
But it was months. Like it was like what? That's crazy. And yeah, then I was like coming back in, and then our lead singer at the time was leaving a few months, and I'm like, oh, well,
We need somebody.
all right, what's up? What's up? And you're like, let me look at your schedule.
Yes, I remember that.
And no.
Yeah. I was like, I can do like 2 to 3 gigs a month, but it was like 2 to 3 gigs a week. I was like,
Yeah.
I just don't have the capacity. I would love to. It sounds like so much fun, but I also need to have a life.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But catch me at another time in my life where
Yeah.
I'm not so busy teaching everybody else how to sing.
Understand completely. Yeah. And I do have a question for you.
Yes.
So, speaking of venues and bars and things like that, and we were talking about this, but the last time that we had lunch,
Yeah.
you were about to embark upon a tour.
That's right.
We've talked a little bit about it. Obviously, I've seen some things like that, but how did that process go for you being back on stage and just being in that environment and things like that? How did that go?
Well, I was on tour with the band Alice, and funny enough, they're actually going to be here at my house on Sunday because they're on tour again, and they needed a place to sleep. And
that's
it was
awesome.
like, I'm on the road, come hang with me. So they'll be here on Sunday, and I'm so excited to see them. But honestly, it was a really great experience, obviously. And for me, I was the background singer, not the lead singer. So it was really low pressure for me because I was just there to support, not to be the star of the show.
Yeah.
And that was actually really quite nice. I really enjoyed that. I maybe should have, like, when I was younger, should have gone into background vocals because it is nice to not, like, for me personally, it was nice to not be center stage and just be there to support and still do what I love, but not have all that pressure.
Yeah.
I was super sick the first 3 days. Oh, no. Yeah, I didn't know, but when I flew out to LA to rehearse, we had like 2 days of rehearsals and then we went on the road. And when I flew there, I was still fine. But then the next day I started coughing and like, it was just bad. I had walking pneumonia. And I never get sick.
Yeah.
Like the last time I was sick before then was more than 2 years prior to that. And I haven't been sick since. But I was like, oh my God, you've got to be kidding me. And so I was backstage laying on the sofa, super sick, had a fever, everything. And they gave me like ibuprofen so I could like make it through the show.
Yeah.
So the first 3 shows were rough. But again, luckily I was a background singer, not the lead singer. I don't know if I would have made it through the show as a lead singer, right?
That's tough, yeah.
But then after that, I was back on my feet and feeling good, feeling great, and then I really actually got to enjoy it. But it was definitely a really, really cool experience.
That's awesome.
Yeah. You encouraged me to do it because we were talking like, should I do it? Should I not? Because, I'm this like blonde, bubbly girl and they're like, all black and dark makeup and everything. I was like, well, it's not really like, I don't really fit in like image wise. And you were like, no, go for it. Like, do it. This is such a great thing to try. And I'm grateful for your advice.
Oh, you certainly.
And your friendship, that I was able to talk to you about it. And we had a great breakfast there too, or lunch.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, just with your, just your vibe and just being able to step into a role.
Yeah.
And then, not only was it that, but I was just like, girl, this is what, like, you're, like, gonna do the thing that you're coaching folks to do. And, like, it's... Yeah. So I'm glad that you had a good opportunity or a good experience with that other than being sick.
Right, that's a part of the experience too, right? And you have to learn how do you deal with it. So there was content from that too.
That's true.
Like, okay, if you're on the road or even you just have a gig and you're sick, what can you do, right? And you can't cancel the gig.
Right.
Sometimes you have to cancel the gig, but if that's not an option, what do you do? So a lot of learning experiences for sure.
And speaking of which, did you play any of those shows in smoking bars?
Yes. Denver. That was the last one I was sick at. And I don't think it technically was a smoking bar, but you know, sometimes with like these underground kind of bars, it's like, you know, people have been partying for a while and it's like midnight or whatever, so they start smoking inside because they had a couple too many drinks and they don't really care anymore. And then there's the smoke machines and all that, the fog machines or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, my throat is so dry. What is happening? And so it took a little bit of adjustment. But made it. Still alive.
Professional.
Yeah, you have to adjust to what the situation is. You don't always have full control over what's going to happen. So you make the best out of the situation that you've been dealt with.
Yeah. Yes, that is for sure. Especially when you're on stage at events. Oh, so-and-so said that we've got to do the thing here. We got to do it there. Ready? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, it's fine.
Yes, absolutely. And then you can complain after the fact. But just get through
it. On a podcast 2 years later and be like, okay, let me tell you what happened.
It was so scarring. I will never be the same. So traumatic. No, I love it. Thank you so much, Leonard, for coming on and for sharing with us how can we get into better paying gigs, because I remember the summer of 2019 where I was gigging 4 to 5 times a week, 3 to 4 hour gigs, and losing my voice because I was singing so much and it was by myself and I was barely getting paid. That entire summer, over those 4 months or whatever, I made just enough money to pay off my PA system.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. That seems a little out of whack. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, like all of the new keyboard and the like all of the equipment that I needed to, you know, actually do those kinds of gigs. I made just enough money to cover that. And, you know, it was a couple $1,000s, like, I don't know, $3,000-$4,000 or something like that. And I was like, I am working myself to the bone here and I make no money. Why am I doing this? This is not bringing me joy. Because a lot of times, you know, these like gurus in the music industry say like, you have to play the crappy gigs. Like that's just a part of it. That's how you know, become a real artist and whatnot. And I'm like, none of these people cared about me playing there. It wasn't like I was building a fan base or anything like that. Was it experience? Yeah, sure. But like, I have paid my dues. I don't need to continue doing this.
There wasn't a music industry like dues checker.
Exactly.
Like, okay.
She played 100 of those.
Yeah. 84 more dues. And
Exactly. Yeah. So I do wish that I had known you back in 2019.
Now, is that what's, you know, obviously we're going long here, people, but listen. Now, is that part of what initiated VoxTape, or was it already
very much so. I was like, my husband's working 9 to 5. I mean, not really, but let's pretend he's working 9 to 5. I'm working nights and weekends, and he's my roadie. So, you know, like he helps me like set stuff up and come with me to gigs because I don't want to go alone and whatever. And, you know, we just have opposite schedules. We never really had time to hang out and do things together. And it was just not a good time. And I was like, I don't want to work nights and weekends because I want to spend time with my husband and do other things as well. It just didn't fit my lifestyle. And at the same time, I also made no money. And I'm like, I would like to eat. Pretty please. Like I could do that because I had a husband who was paying my bills. Right? But most people don't have that. And so it's like, oh my, how do people live? Like I don't understand it. And so I was like, no, I don't enjoy it. And it is a lot of work for no money. Why am I doing this? And went through a whole identity crisis because I was like, performing is all I ever thought I wanted to do. And now I'm doing it and I hate it. What's happening? So for a good year and a half there, I was like, should I quit? Should I keep going? Should I quit? Should I keep going? And I was so ashamed to admit to other people that I don't want to do it anymore because I thought that they would see me as like a failure. You know, like, well, she didn't make it, so she quit.
And it's hard to get to that point and realize, oh my goodness, all I know, and I'm speaking from experience, like
Yeah.
college, but yeah, my dad sent me to Purdue
Yeah.
to be an industrial engineer. Didn't take.
Yeah.
But you get to a certain point
Yeah.
in whatever your situation might be, and you're like, okay, all I know for sure right now is what I don't want to do. Mm-hmm. The possibilities are endless out there of what I could do, but I can't even focus on what that is because all I know right now is I do not want to be
Yeah.
an industrial engineer. I do not want to perform
Yeah.
for all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's a tough spot, I'm sure.
Well, and then I picked up voice lessons on the side because I was like, I need to make money. Like, this ain't it. This ain't paying the bills. Grant is. But I also want to be able to pay the bills, right?
Yeah.
And so I started teaching voice lessons on the side. And I was like, oh, I actually really enjoy this, like one-on-one with somebody. I feel like I can actually make a difference in your life and people care. And I'm not playing some music while you're eating and you don't even notice I'm there, right? Like I'm not enriching your life.
Could you turn it down?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I want to help you. I'm going to do and so vocal coaching really gave me that feeling. And when COVID hit and I had to cancel my tour, I was like, okay, this is a sign I am allowed to go put all of my energy into vocal coaching. And back then I was called Laura Chapman Music.
Gotcha.
And now it is not that anymore. Then that turned into VoxTape Studios, and much happier with this situation. And when I get to sing for somebody, that's fun, but it's because I want to do it, not because I have to do it. And I love it.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That's very cool. So glad. Yeah, I didn't know the origin of the story, like when it started, but I'm like, oh, she's saying this is what I don't like. I'm like, ooh, that sounds like an origin story. Let me just ask, is this when it started?
A branding, baby. I love it. Well,
awesome.
Thank you so much, Leonard, for joining me.
Thank you.
We have the link in the show notes, in the description, everywhere, exactly wherever the button is, where the link is. Go check it out so you can download that free toolkit.
Yes.
Not guide, but toolkit, so that you can start getting paid for your gigs and not play for free like what I did. So don't bother.